All right, everybody. So, I've been talking for a while now about how the Republicans are kind of panicked right now considering the state of Donald Trump's legal affairs. He is draining money. A big part of it is the fact that he has actually overestimated and overvalued the value of his properties, which has resulted in multiple crimes being committed over the years. He's across multiple states, but primarily in the state of New York, he is having some pretty substantial problems in that he is being forced to pay potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in civil fines. Now, or civil bail, actually. It's not civil fines. It's actually important to specify. It's not civil fines, it's civil bail. And very importantly, Trump doesn't have, and no millionaire or billionaire even has, the amount of liquid cash money that is required to pay that bail, and they will not accept assets like vehicles, property, etc. as payment for said bail. And it's not like a bail, oh, you'll go to jail if you don't pay it. It's a civil bail. However, it's still a pretty big deal, and he has complained about the fact that he has to pay this nonstop. He is very upset about this. And on top of that, he has to pay for not just legal fees and, legal battles, which all themselves cost money. You have to pay lawyers. He also has to pay for a political campaign going into the most important election we've ever had, because every next election is the most important election we've ever had. So with that said, the Republicans, the GOP, the RNC, are the ones that are kind of expected to foot the bill for Donald Trump's campaign and his legal troubles. The problem is they're running out of money too. And on top of that, they're in even deeper shit. They're even further down Shit's Creek, because on top of that, Republican Party donors are not donating to the Republican Party because they, as they have said, are afraid the money's going to go to paying Trump's legal bills, which would be a waste. As you can probably imagine, this isn't great for the Republicans at all. In fact, Republicans panic about their money problems. The Republicans are raising concerns about their fundraising ahead of the November elections as former President Donald Trump's campaign struggles to keep up to President Joe Biden's. Biden has raised nearly $127 million to compete against Trump by the end of February, with about $71 million cash on hand, according to the Federal Election Commission, or FEC. Last week, he raised an additional $25 million at a New York City fundraiser. Trump had raised only about $99 million in the period, with about $33.5 million in cash on hand, according to the FEC data. I will say it is troubling how much money there is in politics. And this is just the very tip of the iceberg. The very, very tip. What, politicians are able to raise through public, fundraising. Trump's fundraising deficit comes as both candidates have secured enough delegates in their respective primaries to secure their party's presidential nominations, setting up a likely rematch of 2020. While Trump has lagged in fundraising, polls have shown him with a slight yet narrowing lead over Biden. It's pretty unfortunate. We're not too happy about that. And he is holding a fundraiser this week that could see him raise up to $33 million in an attempt to close the money gap. Several prominent conservatives have called attention to Republicans' fundraising issues, which could be further complicated by some donations to the Republican National Committee, or RNC, going toward Trump's legal bills in his various criminal cases. Conservative commentator Charlie Kirk issued a warning about Trump's fundraising in a post to X, formerly Twitter, last week. Quote, "Tonight will be the largest fundraiser in political history. $25 million in hard money raised in a single evening for Biden," he wrote. "This is more raised in one night than Trump raised the entire month of February. Democrats are beginning to fine-tune their messaging, and they have a standing army of 5,000 plus full-time organizers on the ground in the key states. We are outgunned and will be outspent. The polls are tightening. Time to get to work. The country is at stake. The right is absolutely panicking. They are scared. The state of politics as it is standing is not maintainable for them. They can't keep a political party standing if they run out of money. And if you're wondering, why are all the Republican politicians across the country, even on a state level, passing such unpopular bills and unpopular laws if they know this isn't going to do well for the Republican Party's financial future? And I'm talking about bills like banning porn, bills that involve like restricting people's rights to all sorts of things, such as the recent like abortion bans and whatnot, the repealing of Roe v. Wade, the cracking down on IVF, these sorts of things that have really made the Republicans look bad to most Americans. Why are they doing this? Well, it's to like play to a really hyper fanatical right-wing base that is a loud minority. Because that loud minority, if they build enough of a fan base of those people, they can make themselves a little pocket of the internet or the radio or TV or wherever they end up going after their failed political career, where they can grift potentially millions of dollars that they can retire off of. For a lot of these conservative politicians, this is just a grift for them. They've realized how hilariously easy it is to win an election in some local areas, and they've just done it. And now through their local platform, they are building up a sort of cult of personality, and then they fail in politics, and then they become a right-wing talking head. It's what's going to happen to Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Go down the list of these crazy fucking people. Fox News host Brian Kilmeade said there is no doubt about whether Biden would outraise Trump last week. Quote, "They're going to outraise Republicans. I think that goes without saying, and it's grassroots funding, too. Especially when the president's got to diverge some of his fees for courts." Yeah. "And there's no doubt about it. He's a one-man army, and he's going against, really, 3 presidents?" How is he going against 3 presidents? Doesn't Trump have the support of other Republican presidents in the past? I don't know what he means by that. I don't think it's supposed to actually mean anything, though. I think it's just waffling. On Monday, commentator Liz Peek, I almost read that as Riz Speak, noted Biden's financial advantage over Trump during a discussion on Fox Business's Mornings with Maria Bartiromo. Quote, "Money. They have money," she said after Bartiromo asked what other advantages the Biden campaign has other than abortion. U.S. Army veteran Peter Heinlein, a conservative who has been critical of Trump, warned about down-ballot fundraising effects in a post to X. Quote, "The combination of terrible MAGA candidates, Moreno, Lake, etc., plus Trump's drag on all down-ballot candidates, plus terrible RNC funding equals the GOP is going to completely waste the most favorable Senate map for Republicans of our lifetimes," he wrote. Mad. Listen, fundraising does not mean votes, though. You need to remember that. Just because the Republicans are not doing well financially does not mean they can't win the election. Man. And on top of that, Biden is basically just barely holding the country together. The Republicans have been pushing for government shutdowns and refusals to fund the government more than they ever have. They fully realize that government shutdowns, no matter what, will be blamed on the Democrats if they're able to get the messaging out loud enough. And they will actively and proudly push for government shutdowns and, refusing to fund the government as a way to strong arm and slow down and bog things down for Trump. To keep things from going. Like, I bet that's honestly going to be their final strategy, is going to be to try to prolong a government shutdown to slow down Trump from seeing any potential justice. through all of his constant legal battles. Because I don't think the court systems continue to function when there's like a government shutdown, right? They have no funding. No one's getting paid. Or I guess no one's gonna be getting paid soon. I guess they have some money left over they can dig into, but after that, like, no more federal funding and everything closes. At the very least, it's unavailable, right? Not wrong there, am I? Yeah, oh, on top of this, some Republicans are concerned Trump's unhinged behavior could drag the GOP down. Oh, you can stop now, music. It's all good.
Specter of negative and violent political rhetoric that is once again rearing its ugly head. Donald Trump posting 77 times on Easter Sunday alone, attacking the president, prosecutors, judges, sitting lawmakers, and reposting dozens of far-right articles praising him and trashing the Biden administration. His primary Easter message contained just 7 words about Easter itself, but 161 more calling his enemies evil and sick. America, a failing nation.
Dude, these have to have been Trump tweeting as well. I don't believe this was an intern or somebody else just like making tweets on his account for him. This dude spent Easter on his phone rage tweeting on his own Twitter alt platform, Truth Social. Like, you know someone's life is fucked when they spend, like, a family holiday just angry posting nonstop on Twitter. That is not someone who has anything good going on in their lives. They are in a bad place.
He even reposted an article comparing his legal troubles to Christ's crucifixion.
So true.
This is not new, but the timing is...
That is actually fucking hilarious because me and my friend Ethan, we've been watching The Boys for the very first time, and Ethan keeps on saying, like, I feel like the Homelander Trump references are pretty on the nose at times. And I was like, yeah, that's true to a degree, but at the same time, a lot of these things Trump did after Homelander did them. So, like, the whole... my persecution for my strength is much like the persecution of Jesus Christ thing. Homelander said that first, believe it or not. That was a Homelander quote first.
Is making many House Republicans increasingly uneasy as Politico reports painfully aware that their own campaigns will constantly be asked to answer for his controversial or erratic statements. So, is this Trump's intractable strategy now? His vitriol focused on his legal opponents with less time spent on traditional campaign events? And will it add fuel to President Biden's new strategy to get under Trump's skin, potentially provoking more of the kinds of attacks we saw over the past 36 hours?
Yeah, Biden's been making a lot of personal attacks at Trump, almost in the same way that Trump makes personal attacks at other, like, politicians, except the way Biden's done it is a lot more tactful and presidential. So he's kind of just trying to goad angry reactions out of Trump. And, I mean, Trump tweeted, like, what was it, 125 times, like, angry all caps tweets on Easter Sunday. So, yeah, I'm gonna take a wild guess and say it's probably working.
I want to bring in Jonathan Lemire, White House Bureau Chief for Politico, host of MSNBC's Way Too Early, and an MSNBC political analyst. Matt Gorman was Senior Communications Advisor for the Tim Scott campaign.
God, that guy is
Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, and...
I don't want to be mean. But have you ever seen a man who looks so much like Humpty Dumpty? I'm not being mean, am I? That is the exact shape of an egg. Rude but lol. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm really not. But I feel that I would be missing out on, like, comedic gold by not pointing out that this guy's entire head is shaped like a perfect egg shape. Like, I'm not even talking shit. I'm just saying, man, that's an interesting shaped head.
And the NRCC. Vaughn Hilliard is here with me on set. Okay,
oh wait,
Vaughn,
is he a bad guy? Wait, is this guy that... Is this guy in the photo a bad guy? Maybe he is. Maybe Egghead here is a bad guy. Holy shit. It's Eggman, my nemesis.
Jeb Bush, Mitt Romney, and the NRCC. Vaughn Hilliard is here with me on set. Okay, Vaughn, Trump's clearly in kind of this escalating attack mode, but why now? Is Trump getting under his skin? I mean, I don't know, the clock ticking on the hush money trial, which is starting in 2 weeks, right? Is it about the losing, the fund?
God, there's another trial coming? Holy shit. At some point, one of these has to do something. Trump's gotta end up in handcuffs eventually. How many slaps on the wrist can a guy get?
Fundraising race against Joe Biden, all of the above?
$175 million that he's got to post in bond on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, that.
Look, the clock is ticking for Donald Trump on every single front. The family business, the legal, the political. This is the moment here where Donald Trump is watching all of this come to a head. And for anybody that has a true social account, if you were to go on and look at those 75 posts, boy, it hits the spectrum. He posted an article from a right-wing commentator that suggested that he was the chosen one, the one chosen by God. He posted another right-wing outlet's link.
So true. And not insane of a thing for anybody to have said at all. Yeah, absolutely.
Calling it the crucifixion of Donald Trump. He posted about Fonnie Willis. I mean, this, though, is Donald Trump, who he's always been. You'll go back to just a couple months ago, last Christmas, when he said that Jack Smith was going to go rot in hell. But this is for Donald Trump here, ultimately the political. All of this comes to convincing a part of the American electorate, a majority of the American electorate, that he is the one being unfairly persecuted. Take a listen to him just about an hour ago on Milwaukee local radio.
Are you ready to hear something that sounds like it's too insane not to be satire?
It's all nonsense. It's on J6. It's on speaking about the election, that you're not allowed to speak about elections. When you catch somebody rigging an election, you're not allowed to talk about it. And we do talk about it, and it happened, and we have proof of it, and they don't want to talk about that.
What do they not want to talk about?
Quote, it's all nonsense.
Donald Trump will never back down or walk things back. That's the thing. So that could really be what undoes him. He values his cult of personality more than his freedom. I genuinely believe that.
That is going to be such a defining part of Donald Trump's campaign message, political message. Quote, it's all nonsense. During the Republican primary, a good part of the reason he won is because he was effectively able to convince a vast majority of the Republican electorate that he didn't actually lose the 2020 election, that if things had just been fair and not rigged, he would still be in the White House. So now the question is, can he convince the electorate as a whole whether all of this is truly nonsense, as he is suggesting?
I mean, that's a trick. Right, Matt? I mean, you're the comms guy. Trump hasn't done many traditional campaign events. He does have 2 tomorrow, but those are going to be his first in several weeks. Are these kinds of online attacks even more of a campaign strategy now than they were in the past, kind of making up for time he's going to have to spend in court for maybe a lack of campaign cash to hold some of those?
I really do think that, like, mainstream traditional media is going to have to come to terms with the realization that politics is going to quickly start adapting to the new generations becoming voting age. Gen Z has for a long time been a statistically insignificant, non-voting age, like, group of people that are the children of society. But now Gen Alpha and, like, the tail end of Gen Z are the children of our society. And most of Gen Z, I think, are adults now. Like, and voting age. And politically knowledgeable to some degree. And most of the political engagement Gen Z engages in at all is on the internet. And it involves internet memes and phrases and culture war talking points. And so I really worry about, like, the current left-ish leaning establishment of mainstream media, if it's going to be able to survive the necessary jump to either adapting to or outright joining with the explosion in internet-centric alt media that's becoming so big, because young people do not typically go to these sources to get their news and information. They go to like a Twitter account or like a YouTuber or a streamer to tell them the news that's going on at the moment, along with like a side of commentary, which is what I do, to be fair. But I wonder if there's going to be like MSNBC sponsored like Zoomer political streamers that are like doing live coverage of stuff in the format of like a live stream in the future, if that'll be what we're doing in like 10 years.
Those rallies. Can he use this as effectively as he did almost 8 years ago?
Yeah, two things to keep in mind that I think color a lot of this. Number one, you're right. Him and the RNC need campaign cash. So look, they want to rile up supporters. They want...
My grandma literally thinks I watch CNN because I vote Democrat. Yeah, it is very funny, like, how few lefties watch any mainstream, like, left-ish news like CNN or MSNBC, and yet it is the go-to thing to insult someone, like for a conservative who is left-leaning. You watch too much CNN, and it's like, most lefties have not watched more than an hour of CNN in their lives, like actively watched. Maybe it's been on the background at some point when they were kids and their parents were watching the news, but like actively watched, I don't know. Most internet lefties I've met and talked to, not very tapped into like anything outside of internet culture war nonsense. Yeah, the Commie News Network, CNN, guys. Yeah, don't you know? Listen, the Republicans are weakened right now, but they are still able to win if we do not work hard to keep them from gaining power, particularly Trump gaining the presidency again. One term of Trump led to a conservative majority, a strong conservative majority of the Supreme Court that we're going to have to contend with for potentially decades. And in that time, we've already lost Roe v. Wade. So it is very clear that right now we need to get out there and vote, and not just vote. If you are interested in doing more and actively doing something, direct action, if you will, go down into the link in the description of this video when it goes out on YouTube, or if you're watching live, you can type !PV in my chat, and you'll get a link to Progressive Victory. I work with them to tell you guys how you can, like, actually do something to fight against the Republicans. They've got canvassing opportunities, phone banking opportunities, and yeah, you go to their website, and they've got all sorts of things you can do for them that will help keep Republicans out of power and help Democrats win local elections to protect your rights. If you're as motivated to protect your rights as Republicans are to take your rights away, you should check out that link.